Hello, I'm Theron Schutte, Superintendent of the Marshalltown Community School District, and I welcome you to Roundhouse Phase 2. We're standing in the front lobby of the auxiliary gymnasium, and as you can see behind me, we have a donor wall showing all the different people and businesses from our local community that came together to contribute $2.7 million of a nearly $7 million project to make this vision become reality. So this beautiful display behind me is a recognition and dedication to all of the individuals as well as local businesses who contributed and alumni to our Roundhouse Phase 2, moving from vision to reality. Nearly $2.7 million was raised towards roughly a $7 million project. And the unique thing about this feature is that all of these names are etched in original Roundhouse bleacher boards that were salvaged during the Phase 1 renovation of the Roundhouse. Part of the project and a tribute to Allie Morrison, this is our Wall of Honor recognizing all of our wrestling student athletes that have placed at the state wrestling championships from 1921 till present day. And so we've got all first through eighth place listed here, superimposed on an Olympic picture of Allie Morrison. So this graphic illustrates kind of the beginning and the rebirth of Marshalltown Bobcat Wrestling. Coach Kingsbury would have been the last coach in the 1920s to coach the Bobcats before the Great Depression, we believe, caused the sport to disappear, and then the sport came back in 1964-1965 school year when the Roundhouse was built. And Gene Luttrell was the head wrestling coach at that time for the first decade of the rebirth of Bobcat Wrestling. So this is our beautiful auxiliary space for wrestling practice. It is approximately 13,000 square feet in total space. It accommodates 3 regulation-sized wrestling mats and then the equivalent of about another half for practice and drilling spaces, and we also have some drilling dummies up on the wall. There's an area that's cut out that'll be for exercise and training as well, but this is a well-deserved space for our Bobcat student-athlete wrestlers who haven't had a real wrestling room since the program started in 1921. This graphic, which is a motivation graphic for our Bobcat wrestlers, is illustrating Wells Fargo Arena, the state finals championships for the Iowa State Wrestling Championships, and Pedro Gomez is our last Bobcat who won the state championship. It's got him on the championship mat for 3A. This is our new auxiliary gymnasium, a multi-purpose space for our student athletes. This is going to be a great addition for extra space for physical education classes, as well as for all our extracurricular activities. And so as you can see, we've got the opportunity for volleyball nets to be used. We've got we've got 1 full basketball court and 2 partial basketball practice courts in this facility. That's about 20,000 square feet. We have a batting cage behind me for baseball, softball, golf. We also have future plans to hopefully install a rock wall within this facility, concessions, and a nice overlooking balcony area there. We've got seating for spectators. We intend for some of our underclassmen events like 9th grade games to be performed here in this gymnasium. So we're standing outside of Roundhouse Phase 2, the new addition, which will be opened on Saturday, October 30th, 2019. And before us is athletic silhouettes. The artwork is called Motion Up, that Marshalltown High School graduate Ed Ware from 1981 designed, and we used actual photographs of former student athletes who exemplified excellence in their respective sports. So going from left to right, we've got Mike Mann in wrestling, Kirsten Beach in basketball, Michaela Palmer in dance, drill team, Kate Greer in cross country, Kristen Lankema in tennis, Lori Sudden in softball, Rebecca Albert in volleyball, Dean Fogarty track and field, Jeff Clement baseball, Ray Wiggin bowling, Calvin Spencer football, Annalise Ioli in drill, Christy Spear in cheerleading, and Heather Gross, or Van Buren now, in swimming and diving. Unfortunately, we're missing one of our silhouettes, which is soccer, so that will, hopefully within the next couple weeks, we'll get that installed, but that will be Luke Bowler for soccer. This will now become one of the new main entries for the high school for our students when they park in the parking lot on either the north or the east side of the building here. So we're excited to have a nice wide thoroughfare for them to enter the building on this side if they're parking on this side of the building to correspond with the other side of the roundhouse. As part of this roundhouse project, we had a few other spaces that we could turn into useful and meaningful usable space, and so we've got a new security office here that's right on top of the stairway for entering Roundhouse Phase 2, and we'll walk around the corner where we've got a couple small music practice rooms as well. So this will just be a music practice space for students, 1 or 2 students to be able to utilize, but it was space that otherwise would have not been useful had we not converted it. So we're pleased to be able to help the fine arts area as well. This again is another music practice space that can be used by our fine arts department, a little bigger so it could accommodate some small ensembles and that sort of thing. We're just very proud to be able to contribute to the community this wonderful facility, both auxiliary gymnasium space and wrestling practice facility to go with the beautiful, iconic Roundhouse Phase 1 renovation. So our hopes will be that this will help accommodate and inspire future Bobcats to excellence for years to come and make our community proud. Well, I want to thank everyone, all the students, parents, staff, community members, and alumni for coming out this evening to our grand opening celebration of Roundhouse Phase 2, as well as the dedication and naming ceremony of the Allie Morrison Wrestling Training Room. At this time, I'd ask people to rise as our MHS National Anthem singers, under the direction of Amy Ossie, perform.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave?
Outstanding job. Thank you very much. Well, again, welcome. I'm Theron Schutte, Superintendent of the Marshalltown Community School District, and I'm truly honored, humbled, and blessed to hold this position and have been given the opportunity to work toward the further enhancement of our iconic roundhouse for current and future generations of Bobcats. At the onset of this project, in collaboration with our school community, we established project goals. We wanted to create a first-class teaching, learning, and extracurricular space that was multi-purpose in nature and put us at or beyond the standards of our competition. We wanted to bring high school wrestling and other high school competitions and practices back to the high school, thus freeing up some of our other facilities for school and community use. We wish to establish open, transparent, and collaborative communications with the school community and rebuild trust that may have been previously lost. While creating these modern facilities for our student athletes and educators, we wanted to pay the utmost respect to the original roundhouse as well as our beautiful community auditorium. And last but not least, we wanted the project to stay within budget and be completed on time. We're 50-50 on that right now. Throughout the project, fortunately, it wasn't time urgent, and we really want it to be done right regardless of what amount of time it took. I'm going to sound a little bit like the Academy Awards here as I thank as many entities as I can in a very short period of time. And hopefully some of my colleagues that will speak after me will pick up any one that I may have forgotten. First and foremost, I want to thank the private donors, individuals, alumni, families, businesses, local foundations and trusts, and the Marshalltown Schools Foundation under the direction of Larry McKibben, Jim Bowman, and Gary Shout for helping facilitate the funds. The Martha Ellen Ty Foundation, particularly for kickstarting this with the significant $1 million contribution. Special kudos goes to Dr. Cynthia Ragland, Gary Shout, and Heather Van Buren for the Renovate the Roundhouse fundraising efforts and doing a magnificent job with the donor recognition wall that you'll see when you go into the new facility. Without their effort, this project would likely not have happened as quickly as it has. 47 years or whatever it was to get here. Raising $2.7 million of the nearly $7 million project is simply amazing for this school community to come together and do. I want to thank our school board, and particularly Janelle Carter, Ross Harris, and Mike Miller, who served on our board facilities committee, providing oversight and guidance along the way. There were countless volunteer hours that they spent. Our high school administration, under the direction of Principal Jackie Wyatt, Activities Director Raleigh Ackerman, and their team for handling the logistics for student safety while the construction project was taking place throughout the year, and Bobcat Eric Whedon as well for his assistance with that. I want to thank our outstanding Buildings and Grounds Department under the direction of Chuck Springer, Travis James, and Todd Goulding, as well as a high school roundhouse custodial maintenance staff, as well, and our finance office under the new direction of Paulette Newbolt. Our architects and artists, Kevin Epperly from FEH, Gary Schulte, who's here from FEH, Mark Williams from HKS, and Ed Ware from Art Advertising. It was truly an honor to work with such skilled professionals in their respective fields. I think it's easy to say that all of us in some way, shape, or form had challenges growing up in life, and it was because of our parents, our teachers, our coaches, and the support of the Marshalltown community that we've become what we have today. The ball team, our general contractor, with John Newberg as boots on the ground and Matt Burrich with oversight. Our local Bobcat supporter and historian Brad Braga for helping us out with some of the statistical stuff. ASI Graphics out of Grinnell, and particularly Laser Graphics, Thomas and Jack Laser, and I'm sure many of you remember Jack from his years in Marshalltown, were unbelievable to work with and fully understood the importance of this project in terms of the rich history that MHS has. Brad Trickey also was with one of our subcontractors on the electrical. He's a former Bobcat, and it was really neat to see him around this project, working on it with pride. Our communications director, Andrew Potter, as well as our local media outlets, and particularly the Times-Republican, for doing such a great job of helping feature this project as we got closer to today. As superintendent, I am very glad this project has finally gotten to a point of substantial completion, as I'm sure many of my colleagues are as well. As a Bobcat alumnus, it has truly been a labor of love, with our best attempt to get as much right as possible for as many people possible, especially our student athletes and staff. There have been minor errors and omissions along the way, such as missing the yet intended soccer silhouette, which is entirely my bad. I take responsibility for that mess up. And also having some names misspelled, and I'm sure there'll be some others that will be recognized maybe even by some of you, but there's nothing that's happened that can't be easily rectified and won't be easily rectified in the coming time, the coming year. The other thing that I am deeply committed to is recognizing the past excellence that has existed in Marshalltown pre-Roundhouse, or what some of our community members call the modern era, as it's from that foundation, from the very early days, which Allie Morrison was part of, that our former and current student athletes have watched, listened, read, and learned to aspire to the same level of excellence and beyond. Thank you. It's now my pleasure to introduce to you Mrs. Janelle Carter, our Board Vice President.
Thank you, Theron. Thank you, all of you tonight, for coming out to help us celebrate the opening of Roundhouse Phase 2. I doubt I am alone in saying that this has been a journey to get here today. We kicked off the journey somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 years ago with many fundraising efforts that many of you were involved with those first few years. So today, you are seeing the results of your effort and your support. You are an amazing community to get behind this effort and push it forward. It's already been about 4 years since the opening of Phase 1. This is a wonderful improvement to this facility, but it is also an improvement that keeps our iconic roundhouse intact. This restoration effort distinguishes us from others, and it makes this place special and unique. In an era where it is easy to tear down and build new, we have preserved the past and prepared for the future. We now have a modern space that will serve us better, continue the traditions, and help us remember our history. This whole project has been a community effort, and it could not have been done without the overwhelming support of all of you here today and many others. It is truly an honor to be a part of a community like ours. I would like to point out a few individuals who have contributed greatly to this last phase of the Roundhouse project. To our fundraising friends, Gary, Cynthia, and Heather, your leadership and fundraising efforts from the very beginning. To the Martha Allen Ty Foundation, your financial gifts and support of our schools has helped make us better. To the building and grounds staff, led by Chuck Springer, your oversight and expertise made it look easy. Raleigh Ackerman and the PE staff and coaches, your ideas and personalization has made this our house. Principal Jackie Wyant and the high school staff, thank you so much for your input and your patience throughout the construction, especially in dealing with the parking lot. Coach Mike Mann, thank you for your expertise and especially for your patience in completing the wrestling edition. We're all looking forward to the next season in your new home. To ball team, thank you for taking on the job for us and working with us to get it done. Of course, Kevin Epperly and the FEH team with Denny Sharp, Corey Sharp, Gary Schulte and their staff, and Mark Williams of HKS Architects in Dallas. Thank you for your professional services and especially for having our back. Mark, we're proud of your Cowboys Stadium, but we win with our history. There's one more person I'd like to thank tonight, and that is Dr. Schutte. From the time the board put this project on the list of top priorities, and when Dr. Schutte arrived here 3 years ago, he has pushed forward to make this project outstanding. He immediately started building a team with the help of his 1981 MHS classmates, Kevin and Mark, and then later artist Ed Ware to help design the end product that you'll see here today. I have watched now for the last 3 years while Dr. Schutte has passionately pulled his entire team together to get this project done. But there is a difference between a project that is finished and a project that is done well. It is no secret that the added time to do a project like this while taking on the demands of a new district can be overwhelming. And what I saw was definitely the labor of love. Beginning with the design process, I watched as Dr. Schutte carefully planned the next step and thought through ways to make it outstanding. From that initial design process to the murals in the wrestling room and the statues outside, he could hardly wait to show off the different ideas he had to make the project unique and special. Not only has Dr. Schutte pushed to bring out the Roundhouse history that we will continue to remember, but he has also demonstrated the love and support he has for his hometown district. I think he deserves a thanks for that as well.
So I remembered two other thank yous. The city of Marshalltown, I figured I better get in before the Honorable Mayor Greer speaks. And then also Clap Saddle Garber, who are our civil engineers on this project as well. So it's now my pleasure to introduce our Marshalltown Mayor, Mr. Joel Greer.
Thank you. I'll be short. Well, truthfully, I am short. Let me start with 3 facts you may not know. Fred Hoiberg has gone on record as saying this is the hardest place to shoot a basketball because there aren't any 45-degree angles. Dr. Schutte's picture is on the wall over here because he was an all-state football player, an end, I think. And it took 2 officials and 3 notaries to get Sharon and me married. And I tell you about that because our favorite one was fond of saying, because he had short sermons, the mind can only absorb what the seat can endure. And these are kind of cushy seats, and you're sitting in the hard ones, so I really do want to be quiet. Quick, I'm sorry. When we moved to town in 1986, it was hard to recruit somebody boy, we got a good crowd here. I hadn't looked around back there. It was hard to recruit somebody to the school board. The last time we had an opening, 7 people ran for it. Things have changed here, folks. There's a movement going forward with the school board, with this wonderful staff that we have here. And it does not surprise me that the Thai Foundation and the community stepped up to make the contributions that they did to have this project come to fruition. I've had over 40 interviews after the tornado, and every chance I get, I tell the media and anybody who will listen what a great thing we have going in this town. And this is always the place I like to start, but we've also got a wonderful Y and the bike paths and things like that going. But this school is what sold me on coming to Marshalltown from Spencer. Thank you.
It's now my privilege to introduce to you the Marshalltown High School Activities Director, Mr. Raleigh Ackerman.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is my distinct privilege to stand before you. For the last 3 years, I've had the honor of being the activities director here at Marshalltown High School and to be able to serve our faculty, our staff, our students, as well as the Marshalltown community. When I got on board here 3 years ago, the first phase of the Roundhouse renovation had already been completed. The new gym floor, new bleachers, a new weight room, new varsity locker rooms, a team room. You go around and we see a new Hall of Fame room as well as activities offices. All of those had already been completed. Now, in the course of the last 3 years, we've made some finishing touches to the Roundhouse renovation, whether it's the wall graphics, reestablishing the Wall of Honor. And, I did not just do that by myself. I had a lot of help from Gene Wilkins and Toby Green, Donna Apple. Gave countless hours of researching and finding the pictures of the people who had been on the wall of the Roundhouse before it had been renovated. We also did some additions to the Hall of Fame room, recognizing some coaches, as Dr. Schutte had mentioned, some coaches from back in the 1940s and 1950s, 60s, and so on, that deserved recognition in there to honor those teams from back in the day, again, before the Roundhouse was built. And just this past week, we were able to finished completion of and recognized those teams throughout the years who were state championship teams here at Marshalltown. And we were able to complete that. Along with that, the Booster Club has been very great help to me in identifying and sprucing up the Roundhouse with pictures of our current student athletes to just help with the overall appearance of the Roundhouse and even improving upon this iconic structure. But we're not here just today to talk about the Roundhouse, because now we're taking the next step in improving the school facility with the addition of the new North Gym and a long overdue wrestling room, which here in a little while you folks, when you take the tour and you walk through, are going to be very impressed. And I hope that you find that the new facility is going to be a very functional facility. We will have students participating in there, not only maybe playing a pickup basketball game, but hitting volleyballs around. We'll have students that are going to be taking batting practice with the batting cage that lowers down from the ceiling. Some of our wrestlers will be down in the wrestling room doing a short demonstration, but it's going to be we're going to be able to show you the functionality of that facility. In addition to that, while you're going to see some of the activities and the athletics that are going on, I'm even more excited about this addition because of the addition that it's going to make for our physical education programs here at the high school. Being able to have more room, more opportunities for our students to take part in different activities. And additionally, if you go up the hallway, we have new practice rooms for our vocal music and instrumental music, as well as another classroom very similar to our team room that is located on the south wall over here. So with that, I have to thank all of you for allowing me to be a part of this process of the addition of Phase 2 to finishing up the Roundhouse project that started a number of years ago, like Janelle mentioned. And just to reiterate to you that the school that you have here in Marshalltown is a top-notch school. And we've made a big step to improving even and providing even more opportunities for our students, for our faculty, for our coaches, for our staff. And with that, I say thank you and enjoy the new facility that you're going to see here in a little bit.
It's now my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Gary Shout, one of the three that headed up our fundraising efforts for the Roundhouse, as well as Mrs. Karen Gregory, the Executive Director of the Martha Ellen Ty Foundation.
There, you might want to lower that thing next time. Get it down there, like you little wide receivers can do. So that was my spot right there. That's where a little wipeout used to go on. Can't believe there's not a surfboard there. We can work on that, right? Attaboy. First of all, obviously, I'm up here talking tonight as the fundraising crew, but I'm here speaking for, their names got mentioned several times and should get mentioned many, many more times. I'm speaking for Heather Van Buren, Gross, and Cynthia was around over here someplace. There she is. Give them a round of applause. People ask, why did we put so much time and effort into this building and the new Phase 1 and 2? It has to do with we're all alumni. This place meant a lot to all three of us in one way or another, and we wanted to bring it back to what it was back in the days when we were in school here. And overall, I think we've reached that and gone beyond. I'm going to be listing off, I'm not going to go through everybody, but there is a pretty long list of folks that we do want to thank. And when it comes down to statistics, there were over 525 donors to this effort from 21 states. So alumni and parents and people really came out to help us out. I see somebody standing back on the track when we were doing all the 525 and having all these donors come in. Leslie Major, I want to thank her for doing all the bookkeeping for us. Jerry, you can have your house back now. So very good. I want to first start thanking the Assistance League. This is kind of chronological. Cynthia, Heather, and I were kind of planning what were we going to do for fundraising. And then the Assistance League says, hell, we're already going to have some dinners coming. You better get ready to go because we're going to start firing off with fundraising dinners. And with that, the Assistance League, thank you much for giving us a spark to go. Karen's going to be talking next, and we've all have been. Our opening ceremony that took place in the auditorium many years ago, announcing the Martha Ellen Ty match donation, which was a great way to kick off the fundraising to go. And so Karen and the Martha Ellen Ty folks, thank you very much. The Bobcat Ball, anybody who didn't go, you should have gone. It was a lot of fun. Seeing a lot of old coaches, having a little fun, selling a whole bunch of wood, selling a whole bunch of bleachers. Ended up raising close to $60,000 in that Bobcat Ball, headed up by Jane Bauer, which is Cynthia's mother. And I know she had some help from Emily Amundsen, Jackie Bowler, and Gilchrist Dole, as well as a whole bunch of other people. Todd Timich and Sports Page. Whenever we needed T-shirts, we needed anything, they came forward without a doubt to help us out. Emerson, not only did they have a very generous donation, but they also sponsored a fun night in the auditorium with the Return, a Beatles tribute band. Only 7 people were overcome by the exhaust smoke from Mr. Gregory rounding up his Harley Davidson inside. And we want to thank them for their donation of that Harley. There was a lot of fun doing some raffles. Josie Diorio was the gal that helped us organize that night, as well as organize the raffle for the Harley Davidson. Busby family. I'm finally glad they found a door to get in. They showed up at about 5:15. So thanks to the Busbys for their generous donation to the family that went towards the weight room, which I think turned out fantastic. The Becker family. The Becker family, it's their whole family. They're always very generous. I don't know of a fundraiser we've done here that the Becker, Bob and Sally, or their kids have not helped out or donated to, as well as their son Dan, who was back here in the 70s, who wrote personal letters to a whole bunch of Bobcat basketball players from the 60s and 70s, in which we were able to get donations out of California and other alumni. So we thank the Beckers for all that. Dr. Rachel Mason. Unfortunately, she passed away this past week. Great lady, but generous donation from Dr. Rachel Mason. Marshalltown Development Foundation. We do appreciate your contribution. The 100 Women Who Care. In our case, we called it the 154 Women Who Care, because that's how many checks we got from those folks. So thank them for all they do for our community. The Watt family. Not only the local folks here, but their children from in Chicago and whatnot help support us. Independent Insurance Services, Raycom, Moore, McKibben, Goodman, and Lorenz Law Office, Marshalltown Convention and Visitors Bureau. They understood the value of this to bringing conventions and visitors to our town by making their biggest donation they've ever made from their organization. To our flooring and bleacher group, Peggy Darter Hannum, Angie Keener, and Janelle Carter. There's an awful lot of splinters in those hands, and she claims she still has some more in her garage if anybody's interested in buying more. But by selling off bleachers, flooring, I don't know if you guys ever go online and look at what was made out of our bleachers and our flooring, it's amazing, and I bet they raised close to $50,000 in selling off those items. So thank them much for that. John Bunch, who continues to be he's an alumni out of Kansas City, who's also still very generous to Marshalltown. We thank him. R.S. Stover and the Turberville family. Marshalltown Community School District Foundation, McKibben and Bo, they were great to work with in regards to the flow of monies, because there was a lot of checks going through those guys, so thank you much. KFJB, Times Republican, KDAO, they helped us get the word out to you folks to get the fundraising going. We can't tell you how much we appreciate that. The Marshalltown School Boards. We went through 2 of you, and we started with one board and we moved on to another. Thank you much for your support in helping us do what we needed to do. And with that, once again, I mentioned there was 525 donors from 21 states. So Bobcat alumni, parents, and families, thank you so much. Appreciate all your help.
And Mrs. Karen Gregory for the Martha Ellen Ty Foundation.
Sorry about that. On July 9th of 2013, David Tank, who is a 1977 MHS graduate and the grandson of Martha Ellen Ty, announced the $1 million challenge grant from the Martha Ellen Ty Foundation. This was only the second time in the 37-year history of the foundation that a $1 million grant had been awarded. David's words on that day continue to ring true today. Martha Ellen loved Marshalltown and created her foundation as a perpetual extension of that love. She established the foundation to help Marshalltown prosper and grow. The Martha Ellen Ty Foundation gift to the Roundhouse was met by a dedicated fundraising group who raised over $1 million in less than 1 year. The tenacity of their team of 3 was a demonstration of Bobcat pride and passion. This huge challenge required a tremendous amount of their time and their energy. Through their example and their leadership, others joined in supporting the efforts as a community-wide goal. As an initiative of the Martha Ellen Ty Foundation, Vision Marshalltown was developed through the collaboration of leaders from each sector of our community. The ultimate goal was to build a strong community. Education was quickly identified as the key cog to our strategy. One of the visions set forth was to showcase exceptional educational opportunities. I dare say this facility and the one we're about to see clearly meets that standard. Our ability to provide students with access to quality athletic opportunities fits perfectly with strengthening our systems, our students, and certainly our community. On behalf of the Martha Ellen Ty Foundation, I would like to thank all for making this dream become a reality, and I know Martha Ellen Ty would love this moment. Thank you.
I'd like to ask Karn and Gary and Heather and Cynthia, Dr. Ragland, to please come forward. We've got a very small gift for you on behalf of your significant contributions to making this vision a reality. So thank you very much. Please give them a round of applause. An amazing effort. It's now my pleasure to introduce our Director of Buildings and Grounds, Mr. Chuck Springer.
Okay, I'll be the first one to say it. Welcome, Bobcats. This has been fun. About a year and a half ago, I started work here, and 2 days after I started working here, I stood next to Heather and we had the groundbreaking out in front of the auditorium, and it's been drinking from a fire hydrant ever since. We have had a lot of fun with this. I'm very, very proud of the way that this has turned out. We have a few little things that we are still working on. We've got some minor finishes that have to be done. As you walk into Phase 2, you will see that the carpeting in the vestibule doesn't quite match what's in the rest of the lobby. That's all going to be done this Friday. So I can thank my staff, I can thank the ball team, I can thank FEH, HKS, everybody that was involved. I would be up here till dark, but I'm not going to because Dr. Schutte said I can't. So with that, I would like to introduce Mark Williams from HKS Architects, and he will have a few words to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. First, I want to thank my partners. Unfortunately, my classmate, Kevin Epperly, with FEH, is home in Dubuque sick and couldn't make it, and I know he really wanted to be here. Gary Schulte with FEH is here. So I want to thank you guys because you really did, the lion's share of the work on this project. So I was born and raised here and graduated with Dr. Schutte and a few others in this room in 1981. And I've been very fortunate to work on and design some incredible projects since leaving here, and really projects in the NFL. And I said this the first day I came back to work on this project, but when I meet with Jerry Jones of the Dallas Cowboys and Stan Kroenke of the Los Angeles Rams, the very first thing I talk about is this building and what this building means. So I want to talk a little bit about inspiration. Because, in this hallowed hall, there are memories that I still feel like happened yesterday, and I just talk about the power of athletics, the power of a community, the power of teamwork, and what that means to the facilities that I'm lucky enough to design all over the world. And I can tell that even a Jerry Jones with the Dallas Cowboys knows exactly what I'm talking about, and he knows that we're the right people to do the thing for the Dallas Cowboys. So that really grew out of this building right here, and my memories in this building. So when Dr. Schutte and Tom Mead and Kevin Epperly called me and asked me if I wanted to come work on this project, the first thing I thought of is how special this place is and how much I talk about it and how much I want to expand it. The other piece of the coin that came out of this place is just the power of athletics. And I see Lou Kearney there, who I haven't seen for a long time. But he taught us what it means to be on a team, what it means to work harder than you've ever worked at, to the point where, you're puking on the floor. But I'm telling you that you carry with you, and you realize what that hard work pays off, and you realize what that teamwork does. And I live and breathe that every day. So thank you, Mr. Kearney, for that. And then, I was inspired by Mr. Claypool and Mr. Lines to be an architect, and had this very drafting classes in this room, had no idea where I was going to go. But the next thing I know, my classmate Kevin Epperly and myself are at Iowa State, and now we're doing incredible projects in Iowa and all over the world. So I hope today, when you walk in there, you're inspired, and I hope that generations to come are inspired in this new edition. What we tried to do was preserve the integrity of the Roundhouse and expand it and develop it even further for generations to come. So I thank you for welcoming me home. I haven't been here for a while, so thank you for that. And I just hope you're inspired by what we've done. It's a community effort, and thank you all.
Well, and I want to give thanks to both Brett Purvis, who when we started off on this project was our Buildings and Grounds Director, and now Mr. Chuck Springer, who I'm sure he's very glad to see this project come to substantial completion. So please give Chuck a round of applause, and his team. I also want to thank our general contractor, the ball team, whose leadership was not able to be here today, Matt Bursch, who oversaw the project. John Newberg might be here hiding somewhere, who was the boots on the ground, but they were a fantastic group to work with on this project as well. It's now my pleasure to introduce to you Mrs. Amber Danielson, the head of the Marshall County Arts and Cultural Alliance.
I know I'm last on the list, so I'll speed it up because everyone's excited to see the reveal. I'm the director of the Marshall County Arts and Culture Alliance and also a proud alumni of MHS. The Arts and Culture Alliance strives to cultivate a community of arts and culture by serving as the umbrella organization for all arts in Marshalltown. Our mission allows us to focus on enhancing the quality of life in Marshall County by making it a place in which arts and culture thrive and our communities flourish. We are passionate about making Marshalltown the place to live, work, and play by cultivating a community of arts and culture. This evening, I'm here to share with you the work of the Marshalltown Public Art Committee, also known as MPAC. MPAC was created as a division of the Alliance to enhance the community by providing art in publicly accessible spaces and by being a resource for the city of Marshalltown. In 2014, the Alliance was awarded the Iowa Great Places Grant from the Iowa Department of Cultural Affairs for $350,000, along with receiving the designation as an Iowa Great Place. The grant specifically funded 2 public art projects in Marshalltown, 13th Street District and the MHS Roundhouse. The Iowa Great Places program seeks to recognize communities taking action to enhance their local place while staying true to the qualities that make them unique. This is absolutely true of the MHS Roundhouse, and the state of Iowa agreed. The Roundhouse is unique and enhances Marshalltown to be a great place. In November of 2016, Drills, the 18-foot sculpture on the south side of the Roundhouse, was installed by Colorado artist Gail Falwell. Included in this project was lighting, banners, benches, bike racks, an exterior illuminated storyboard, and refurbished original Roundhouse glass windows hanging in the south side entrance. This effort was part of Phase 1 of the Roundhouse, but collaboration with Phase 2 was an important and critical part of the project. We were able to connect FEH architects to the artists to ensure the work on the south side was coordinated with the north side. After wrapping up the project for Phase 1 of the Roundhouse, to our excitement, this doesn't happen often, funds were remaining, which opened the doors to continue the work to partner with the school district to support with public art in Phase 2 of the project on the north side of the building. The remaining funds were able to be applied to Phase 2 of the Roundhouse renovation, including creation of additional banners to match the south side, additional bike racks, and it was able to fund a portion of the artwork installed this past week on the exterior north wall of the addition to the Roundhouse. And as Chuck mentioned, some of these features are still yet to come, so stay tuned. Tonight is my honor to introduce to you the artist of the newly installed artwork of the north side of the Roundhouse, Ed Ware. Ed is the business development manager for art advertising in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Born and raised in Marshalltown, he graduated in class of 1981. Welcome, Ed Ware.
I'm telling you, I've done it around the track a bunch, but I've never had the opportunity to ride a skateboard on this gym. Wow.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks, Amber. I'm sure that's more than anybody ever needed to know about me, but thank you so much. So it's really been super exciting for me to be back here in the Roundhouse this week. Really takes me back. And for those of you who knew me way back when, and know I look a little bit different than I did, I blame Lou Kearney for my hair loss. I mean, really, I'm serious. I mean, Coach Kearney made me wrestle people like Larry Jackson. I mean, Pan Am Games, Iowa State University, Kevin Link. I mean, they're down on the wrestling honor wall, and I knew that there was just no way I would ever get past those guys to wrestle varsity when I was at Miller Junior High. So, Coach Kearney, I blame you for that. I'm sorry. I've been losing my hair ever since I stepped on the wrestling mats at Miller Junior High School. So anyway, but the funny thing is, when I got to MHS, you know, Coach McBride and Coach Feenup of the swim team, when I joined the swim team, said, well, Ed, you know, you need to cut your hair anyway because your mop top makes you a slower swimmer. I mean, come on. So anyway, enough about all that. So I'm delighted to be here today and to celebrate the Roundhouse Phase 2 grand opening and dedication. Although I know Motion Up, a historic tribute to MHS athletics, is really just a very small part of this amazing expansion to the Roundhouse, it has been a real thrill for me to be involved and create these one-of-a-kind silhouettes. When Theron reached out to me almost a year ago to ask me if I'd be interested in being involved to develop some ideas for the north side of the new gym and to submit a proposal for that, I honestly couldn't wait to get started on this project. I mean, for the first time, I laid eyes on the drill sculpture out front of the Roundhouse that Gail Falwell did a few years ago. It really made me smile. It made me smile from ear to ear, and it sort of made my eyes light up in wonder. It was so modern, so stunning, and it reconfirmed to me how much this community, this school, this administration really cares about inspiring youth by bringing education, athletics, and the arts together in meaningful and wonderful ways. With that said, I want you all to know these silhouettes have a big chunk of my heart in them. There's blood there. I sanded each one of those silhouettes by hand and worked with a great team to make them come to life. But I really strive to develop a design that truly honored not just one, not just 15, but to inspire all students to reach for new heights no matter what they dream about becoming. But as much heart as I know I put into it, it truly wouldn't have been possible without Theron's visionary leadership and Kevin and Mark's creative collaboration. Motion Up really began to come to life last fall when Kevin, Mark, and I spent a day here, right here at the Roundhouse. Theron invited us to come to the Roundhouse and get together and just flesh out some concepts and bounce ideas off each other. That's when things really began to harmonize on the project. So again, thank you, Mark, Kevin, and Theron, because this small part of a project much bigger than me wouldn't have been possible without you. I'd also like to thank Gary and Stacy Gestring and the entire team at Art Advertising who were always there to help support the project and see it through, as well as Chad Davis and his team at Arkansas Industrial Manufacturing for helping us with the project. I'd also like to give a real big shout out to, even though I've only known him for about 3 days, to Chuck Springer and the entire MHS maintenance team, Todd, Grant, Jared, everybody that helped Travis, everybody. Just was a really fun week here during the install. So thank you, Chuck. I know you made it look easy, but I know it wasn't. I'd also like to thank the athletes. You know, I spent a lot of time with the photography that Theron and I shared together when we were considering different sports and different athletes throughout the years. So, you know, all of the athletes and the families that took the time to dig through archives of photographs. You know, Theron claims, I don't know if it's true, but he claims he's looked at every yearbook since back in the 1920s. It's his nightly reading, I guess. But seriously, there was a lot of people who did a lot of research and development to sort of handpick these images for the silhouette. So I just want to thank everybody who were involved in that process. And I want the athletes to know that are in attendance tonight that we've done some honor plaques for you on the table back behind the guest table. So if you don't mind, we'd love for you to come up and get those after the ceremony tonight. So there's one more person I'd like to thank, and I'd like to say a special thanks to my wife, Julie, for always supporting my artistic endeavors that can at times consume me. Without her wisdom, her caring critiques, her common sense, and her love and support over the years, I'd be, like they say in the South, a real hot mess. So, Julie, thank you for everything you do for me. And as Jack Nicholson said in the movie As Good as It Gets, you make me a better man. So I want to end with this. This project has meant a lot to me. And I know Motion Up is just a small part of this celebration. But as you're driving up 3rd Avenue over the next few weeks, I really hope you can see the spirited heartbeat that went into the creation of these silhouettes, the heartbeat of families, athletes, coaches and teachers, even the administrators who dedicate their own blood, sweat, and tears by setting the bar high to inspire youth to achieve greatness in school, sports, and beyond. Thank you.
We're now going to transition into the dedication ceremony. As hopefully all of you know, our board voted some time ago to, after a committee had contemplated the suggestion of naming the new wrestling practice facility after former Bobcat Allie Morrison and former Big Ten and Olympic champion Allie Morrison. Many of Allie Morrison's relatives are here today, so please raise your hands. Thank you so much for coming. It's really an honor to speak with Allie's only daughter, Bessie, who lives in Omaha. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to be here. And Jeff Swela, who, a grandson who I worked very closely with to make sure that as much as possible could meet he and the family's approval on this. And it's neat having Pat Nichols, one of our 81 graduates, be a relative, and he's here as well today. Many of you probably know the story, and I'll just try to quickly go through it, but Allie Morrison happened to be a Bobcat at the time that wrestling came into existence in Marshalltown around the 1921-1922 school year. In fact, at that time, 8th grade was part of the high school, so Allie got to wrestle as an 8th grader, where in the infancy of Iowa high school wrestling, he finished 3rd in the state. Once again, as a freshman, he wrestled for the Bobcats and was one of the stars, and he, again, I'm sure disappointedly finished 3rd in the state, but one of the highlights of that year was that the Boone wrestler that beat him in the state semifinals happened to be his matchup in the last dual meet of the year, and Allie turned around and pinned him within 5 minutes. And from that point forward, Allie Morrison didn't lose another match in high school, college, or world competition other than the fact he had been invited to wrestle in the Olympic trials as a sophomore in high school, which is an unbelievable feat for the time. Allie went on to become a 2-time Iowa State champion back in the early days when he won his first championship. It was pre-Iowa High School Athletic Association sanctioning the meet, and so Iowa State University as well as the University of Iowa held championships, and so if you won at either one, you were a state champion, or in his case, as happened in, I believe it was his junior year, he won both at both meets when Marshalltown went to it. And then, unfortunately, during his senior season, because he was an outstanding football player as well and a track athlete, the Bobcats that season, his senior year, so it would have been in the fall of 1925, went undefeated. They didn't really have a playoff system, so they would have been the mythical state champions had it not been for Allie having become too old and someone pointing that out to the Iowa High School Athletic Association. So they were still, in our mind, mythical state champions, even though they had to forfeit 5 of their wins by a score of 1-0. And because of that, Allie wasn't able to wrestle his senior year, but instead, as he was in the year before, served as the coach of the wrestling team while he was a high school senior, and the faculty sponsor, which I'm sure was required by the Iowa High School Athletic Association, happened to be Adolph Rupp, who was a wrestling coach for 1 year only here in Marshalltown before he went on to bigger things in the state of Illinois and then eventually the University of Kentucky. Allie went on, as mentioned, he was a 2-time state champion, and literally he was a 2-time state championship coach for Marshalltown High School. He went on to college at the University of Illinois, where he never lost a match, won 3 Big Ten championships, or the equivalent, won 3 national AAU championships, which were like world championships back then, starting in his senior year and his first couple years of college. And as I think most people know, went on to win the Olympic gold medal in Amsterdam in 1928. I think without question we can say that Allie Morrison was arguably the most decorated student athlete in Marshalltown High School history. For many, many years this was forgotten, and I'm sure it was attributed to the fact that in the 1920s, in the early days of the Iowa High School State Wrestling Tournament, Marshalltown actually had 35 people that are listed on a wall of honor that placed in the top 4 in the state championships. And then it disappeared, I'm sure, as a result of the Great Depression that came, and it didn't come back until Coach Luttrell coached them in the 1964-1965 season. So over those many years, I'm sure the story of Allie Morrison was lost. I know as a 1981 graduate, I had never heard of Allie Morrison, unfortunately, and I'm just proud to be a part of an occasion where once again we can bring his name into focus and hold it as a pillar for our current and future Bobcats to aspire to excellence. So with that being said, it's my honor to introduce to you Mr. Bud Legg from the Iowa High School Athletic Association. I've asked him to come say a few words since Marshalltown was the first winner of the first sanctioned wrestling tournament by the Iowa High School Athletic Association.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the Board of Control of the Iowa High School Athletic Association and our Executive Director, Mr. Alan Bestie, I'm pleased to join in this celebration and dedication today. We extend our congratulations to the Marshalltown Board of Education, the school administration, alumni, and community for this celebration and wonderful addition to the school's overall facilities. Marshalltown has always demonstrated terrific pride in education and education-based activities. This addition preserves the history of the school and an alumnus for the facility that will benefit kids far into the future. Again, our congratulations to all the Marshalltown stakeholders who have made this possible. Thank you.
It's now my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Mike Mann, our head MHS wrestling coach, and probably next to Allie Morrison, the most decorated wrestler in Bobcat history. Mike.
Guess all I can say is wow. Thanks everybody for coming. As you can see, it takes a lot of people to pull some kind of effort like this off. I feel truly blessed that I was asked to have input and put some ideas into the project. You know, you grow up through high school wrestling right up here in the west balcony, and you go on and you find out what other facilities are like. You see what the other teams in the conference have, and so I just thank the committee for asking me to have some inputs. And as we all coach, some of us say, hey, well, I never came up with any ideas myself, I just stole them. Okay, well, I looked at every room and my coaches helped me, and so we come up with all these ideas of how the room should be designed and what aspects it's going to take on and what you want to put in it. I will start with this. We talked about footprints, and when I got asked to help, and you know, you have these different ideas, and I want to have kudos to Mark. He said, hey, let's put it in the basement. Like, in the basement? I mean, once you see it and how this is all laid out, it is awesome. But when I remember this name, I'll think of, he said, hey, let's put some windows in there that the light can come down through the stairwell. And as you see, it looks pretty awesome. So I didn't think I'd get too emotional, but, you know, sometimes that just happens. I've been waiting, and we're still waiting here. Let me introduce Gene Lettrow, who was honored to be coaching back in 1964 when the program got reinstated. Him and his wife is here, Gene Lettrow. Next would be Coach Phil Henning, who in my opinion really started to put the Bobcat program on the map. 30 years of coaching, 350 wins. My coach, my inspiration, Lou Kearney, Bill Ormston, and all these other Bobcats that have talked about who inspires people. You know, you just hope that you can pass on that legacy too and be a part of it. Next, Phil Henning. Phil Henning's longtime assistant Mike Hushak, who took the job after Phil retired. And Danny Lovell, who was second place once and was a state champ. He cannot be here today, and he was head coach for 4 years. Danny Lovell. And I guess I was going to think of what to say, and all I can say is, and as some of you have been through life, I guess I'm at the right place at the right time. Thank you, Bobcat Nation. Theron just asked me to speak real briefly about what the room will be. And what I mean by that is, we've been down in an L room, we've been in the balcony, we came back to the balcony, we've been at Anson. I mean, we feel like we've never really had a home, and now we're finally going to have a home here hooked to the facilities where we have access to trainers, the strength and conditioning, the track, laundry. Hey, it's a huge deal. Laundry from Anson to here, that was a huge deal. Kids driving in the winter. So, kudos to Theron for having the vision and asking everybody to help. The timeline, some of these murals they're just awesome. They're just awesome. So it is so cool. Hopefully you're going to be shocked. And I'll end with this. So you're asked to work on the project, and there's any of these little things that need to be fixed. And so you're looking with a very intense eye, and Gary over here goes, "Well, do you like the room?" Yes, I love the room. The vision is, and I'm sure many of you have had visions, once you vision something and you dream about it and you sleep about it and have visions, when it actually is what you thought it was going to be, you're really not shocked. But I hope you're shocked, because that room is awesome. Let's get this party started. Go Bobcats!
Well, I want to thank everyone who's taken the time to come out this evening. I apologize that the ceremony took about twice as long as intended, but it's really important, and people that know me know that's not unusual. We're going to invite for the chamber ambassadors to go right by the vestibule doors for the ceremonial ribbon cutting. We'd like the Marshalltown School Board and the high school and Buildings and Grounds to also go over there, and the architects. And once we get that ribbon cut, it's an open house, and we'll keep it open as long as people wish to be here to check it out. So thank you very much for coming.